Hey everybody, welcome to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ, that's me. Every Friday afternoon we get together and we talk about the best news, tutorials, and resources that were really published this week in WordPress stuff. So we get together, we talk about it, there's a lot going on in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those. If you're not a normal viewer, if you're not someone who is usually here, the way that we tend to do this is it's very open. I try to pay attention to the comments as much as I can. You'll probably see me get distracted a little bit by it because just that's the way it is. And we have a wonderful community who tends to answer questions and really just get to know each other. So any comments or questions that you have, please feel free to throw those in the comments on either Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this at. And all of the links, remember, are in the description of this video, so you should be able to look straight down and underneath this video and see any and all of the links and follow along. Copy and paste them into all of your tabs that you need to give the content creators some love. So I see a whole bunch of people on YouTube at least already commenting. I'm glad to see that Judy has her priorities straight and doesn't take client calls during this hour, and that's fantastic. And I see some people on Facebook. On Facebook, Bob says that I'm freezing. I'm showing green on all of mine. I'm not sure what's going on that. I'll try to keep an eye on the stream health and see if anything happens on that. I don't know what it's doing. So I see a couple of people on YouTube there saying hello from Cyprus and from Massachusetts and Seattle. So hi to all of you guys. On Facebook, they're asking for the YouTube link, so I'm typing that in youtube.com/elegantthemes, 2 T's, MES/live. Anytime we do any of our live shows, you can go there and watch it just like on the Facebook page. So you can go directly to anything that's live on the YouTube channel at that point, or you can see all the notes that were there from the last stream. So that which is where I keep all the links here. So I see a lot of people. I see someone is already, actually not a lot of people, but George has mentioned that the new client layout, the new column layout, excuse me, is all the money that they're trying to figure out new ideas to do with those, which is actually the first thing I wanted to talk about today. Under news, like the big news is that we finally have many more column layouts that you can choose in Divi. They're fantastic. You can have, I think I saw up to 5 columns on there. I don't think there are 6, but they're in all different shapes and sizes, and they're straight up within the builder. When you're building it, you just do it like you were separating into the 3 columns before, and you'll see all of the new options. They're great. I know a lot of people were using a plugin for this before, and it worked wonderfully, but now it's built in with Divi, so just don't worry about plugins, and you have that one. The only thing that I haven't seen is whether or not anything messes with the old columns from the plugin. I don't think it does. It shouldn't, because the dev team is aware that people have been using that one. I wouldn't think that it would. And I see Grant on Facebook, or on YouTube, excuse me, says that 6 is there. So apparently my English teacher is coming out, and I just couldn't count. So thank you, Grant. I really appreciate that. And for everybody who may be having a couple of stuttering problems, the Bob on Facebook reminds everyone that the video is posted after the stream is over on both YouTube and Facebook, so you can watch it that way. And then Puneet asked, if we didn't update the Divi theme, then what happens? It just doesn't happen. You won't get those layouts. That's one of the major benefits of updating, is making sure that that you get all of the new features like this. But if you haven't updated or have have no reason to update right now other than that. You just won't be able to do it. Other than that, you won't miss out on anything. There's no kind of compatibility issues or anything like that. The old version would just stay like it is, which is actually a pretty good segue into the next thing that I have under news. Even though it's not technically news, I wanted to talk to you guys about this one. Excuse me. Let me think how to put this. The second thing that I have on the under news is it's called Gutenberg forks and the need for an LTS version of WordPress. And with that one, it was something that I've heard about a few times. I've read some of the GitHub issues and GitHub threads about this. I don't follow the ones on Track, which is where actually WordPress lives and all of the changes are actually made. But I do follow some of the GitHub ones, and there was a couple that I found on Gutenberg itself where people were talking about the 5.0 being a splitting point for WordPress, that when 5.0 comes out, there's been a unified WordPress the entire time. But because of the way the open source software works, that we can technically fork WordPress into multiple forks, multiple branches of the same software there. Well, not branches because of that being Git, but multiple forks where you have different versions of WordPress, one being the Gutenberg version and one being the classic version that we have now. And they're talking about that. I don't think it's terribly serious, but there is a discussion going on among part of the community where they're trying to figure out how we want to handle Gutenberg in the long term for compatibility issues, for a lot of different things with, say, moving Gutenberg into the customizer, which is one thing that Morten Rand Hendrickson, that's the guy who wrote this article from Morten, he's talking about that the eventual plan for Gutenberg is moving it into the customizer and kind of doing away with that as an editor altogether, which seems kind of strange to me not to have a post editor in WordPress. So we'll see how that happens. But with that idea in mind, they were talking about an LTS version of WordPress. And what that means is a long-term support version of WordPress, or WordPress LTS as he calls it. And that means that WordPress, that had a tickle on my eye, that WordPress would not force people to upgrade to 5.0. That if you were to stay at 4.9.8 or 4.9.9, that would still be supported with security updates and stuff like that, but not get any major new updates. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, because right now none of this is set in stone other than Gutenberg is coming. And with this being a discussion among the community, and I saw this with Gutenberg coming the way that it is, I'm just honestly really, really curious on what y'all as a community think about it with the LTS version, a fork of WordPress. Would you use WordPress Classic over WordPress Gutenpress or whatever it would just be WordPress because that's what it is. But would you use one of those? This is more of a thing that when it came up, I was curious about because I've been halfway following it on GitHub for a few months now. And I see that Vibe Catcher has said, "Hire me. I don't make those decisions." We do have a careers page. We do have an elegantthemes.com/careers where we post all of the job openings that we have. So you can always check that out whenever there's something up. I know that they push the postings there, and then there's also the blog that we have open submissions to that you can check out. You can just search for open submissions on the blog and you'll find a link to the way that we're looking to include your content on the blog and pay you and everything. So it's kind of hiring. It's freelance hiring. But yeah, there's that. And I see that Nexo has any new infos about the Divi dynamic theme and content theme builder update. No, there's not, unfortunately. I was seeing some stuff asked about that earlier today, and I'm hoping that, and this is just me, this is not an official thing by any means, I'm hoping that with the new columns layout, that's showing more progress in that area at least. So working out some of the kinks in the code that could be keeping it under development to make sure that other sites don't break is the main thing. And so yeah, there's that. And Uncle Social says about the LTS with WordPress stuff that Ubuntu long-term support editions last for 5 years. I'm not sure if the target audience for WordPress LTS would be keeping their websites that long, but that's one of the things. Yeah, there would be a definite cutoff date for that support where you would have to figure out what's going on. I'm still on, I think, 16.04 on my Linux right now. I actually want to update and just haven't done it. So yeah, the LTS is a thing, and like you said, corporations would be really one of the biggest ones in universities and academics. I see Peter says need some sort of update in ETA for dynamic data and theme builder. It was sneak peeked 4 months ago and still nothing. I know. One thing that I know that we have talked about is that it didn't come along as quickly as we had hoped. We ran into, not breaking sites, and we wanted that to happen. When we sneak peeked it, we thought it was coming faster than that, I believe. So I apologize for that on behalf of the content team for putting that out and everybody, but it is coming. It's coming, and we've got that stuff coming up. It's prototyping, so not prototyping, but testing and developing and getting it done. We really want it out there as users ourselves. And I see that Puneet's asking, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it's not. Why is Divi theme not updating when downloaded to the web and it's safe to use? Uncle Social is right. The probability is including your username and the API key. That was what happened to me. I had a site that just wasn't updating. I was like, why can I not get these updates? And it was because I hadn't included the login information. So yeah, if you go into your WordPress account, there will be if you go into your Elegant Themes account, there's a tab on the left, I believe, that says API or API key, and you should be able to get it and copy and paste it into the theme options there. And I see, I'm seeing a whole lot of comments. This is great. I had to slide down on Facebook. I missed that one. Hi to Bulgaria and Peru. Good to see you guys. And I see some folks from India too. That's awesome. Someone from Fiverr using Divi. That's awesome. That's a fantastic way to get work too. I've especially for design and using stuff like Divi and page layouts and all that. So that's awesome. I see that Flipback asks how Gutenberg really affects anyone. How does Gutenberg really affect anyone? Everyone's on a page builder, Divi, Beaver Builder, Elementor, Thrive Architect, and everyone else is on Visual Composer. Yes, they are. It's the way that it's going to affect them is a little different depending on what the page builder they use is going to do. Like right now, our initial support for Divi was not changing anything, for giving you the option of either using the Gutenberg blocks or the Divi builder. Right now, that's how we're approaching it. I honestly don't know how Elementor and Beaver Builder and Oxygen and Thrive and any of that's going to, how they're going to do it, because I honestly just haven't seen if they've released anything, but I think it'll be different. Mainly, it's going to affect us in that eventually I think that with it being default, it's going to have to one way or another integrate either everyone's modules into Gutenberg or Gutenberg blocks into our modules one way or another. And right now we just don't know. Like I said, our initial support on Divi has been released already, and you can choose between the Divi builder and Gutenberg. We have a video on that on our YouTube channel to show how that works and going through it with Mac. And I look forward to knowing a lot more about that too when it gets released. Sorry, I got distracted like I said I would. Will there be a possibility to add our own autoresponder integration in Divi using SendLane, which is great, but you can't use it with your Divi website? Oh, wow. Is there a particular reason you can't use it with Divi, just the way that it works? Because I'm not familiar with SendLane. The only autoresponder that I've used is in terms of, what is it? Like email support is I've used stuff like oh my goodness, MailChimp and things like that. I've also used some that give auto responses from Facebook Messenger, and there's things like Intercom that allow you to that you can integrate with Divi. I'm not sure if I'm not sure about SendLane or other autoresponders. If you're looking for email autoresponders, there should be quite a few, because I know that I've got them using the contact form and like sign up forms with MailChimp, and I know that like a Weber and stuff like that work. If you're looking, okay. I see what you're talking about, MJ. It gives you a choice like a Weber, but not SendLane. That may be something. That's going to be something as like a support question. If there's a way to do that, I would actually ask on our live chat to do that. Or, I mean, we still look at the forums too; those are there. I would definitely talk to the support team and see if there's a way that has happened in the past to get SendLane on there. Because as questions get asked, we're adding to the knowledge base that you can see through live chat, and it's one that you may be able to find on there that if somebody else has asked already, or talk to them and see if there's a way to add it in. That would be my way to do it, since it's not already there. And excuse me, I see that, yeah, sorry, looking at the comments, on there. Okay, that a few of you have asked already on that one. That's something that I'm not sure how the design team, or not, that's not design team, that's development team picks through those, but I'm hoping stuff like that gets addressed when it comes up. That's kind of the reason that we're hitting on the knowledge base and live chat support stuff right now, is it's going to allow us to more readily, segment down on what people are asking for as well. Judy says that she got suckered into helping, quote, a friend fix a bunch of issues on their WordPress site. Somebody got them into using WP Bakery Page Builder. And the rabbit hole has been building. I actually noticed the same thing on my wife showed me a website that her library contracted out, and it is using the same thing, and the WP Bakery mega footer, and it works for what it does, but I'd forgotten over the last couple of years how much smoother that Divi was to use, and it was really surprising to me on that one. So there is that. I understand the like rabbit hole of things like, okay, I got to do this and this, but beautiful site they made. It really is. But fixing it, I was like, oh man, I'm used to Divi. So so if you're just joining in, if you're just joining in, or you're new to the show, we're going through the news, tutorials, and resources that I found this week. I do this every week on Friday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern, so make sure that you tune in, that you hit the subscribe button, which you should see in the lower right corner, and a subscribe bell on YouTube, or you can ask for notifications for whenever we go live on Facebook if you like our page, which hopefully you do since you're seeing this, and you can ask for notifications for whenever we go live for any reason at all. I want to move into the tutorial section right now, because what we're talking about with all of this and what you guys are asking about is actually tying into one of the first things that I found this week that I wanted to bring up. Like, I didn't even have the template made. I didn't even have my document put together. And earlier this week, I got an email from Divi Space where they had put together a how to customize the Divi header, how to customize the Divi header email, and it just made me really happy, because I know a lot of you guys want that. I want that. Everybody in the world wants that, to customize the Divi header. But they put it in there on how to do it. They've got it broken down, and there's a lot of CSS and design stuff that they've got in there to show you how you can do it right now. I wanted to make sure to put that out there, because while we all are waiting on the on the different versions of Divi to come out that have the theme builder. Right now, we're using what we have. So they put that out, and I just absolutely had to point you in that direction. I see Smart Slider 3. It integrates into Divi, customizable. Cool. That is like learning a whole new page builder. Speaking of learning a new page builder, I just want to break one thing and say that today I was looking over a site earlier, and I actually, earlier this morning, I'm building a website for my cousin as he starts a new business, and I introduced him to Gutenberg instead of the WordPress editor today. So he's learning a brand new page builder because he was actually intimidated by the normal builder, the Word document, the word processing tiny MCE, and Gutenberg was easier for him to grasp and like wrap his mind around on how to create the content and make it look like that. So I went to the dark side today and earlier this morning. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited to see how someone who's not familiar with WordPress does with Gutenberg. But that reminded me when you said that. So Elegant Themes, we posted a blog this week that I thought was awesome. I wanted you guys to be able to read it. It's what you can and can't do with WordPress without knowing how to code. I thought this was a great idea. I thought this was something that that I hadn't even thought of as a topic, and I saw this come up, and I was like, that's great. That's awesome. I'm going to have to show that to people, because sometimes you look at it, it's like, I didn't know that I could do that with Divi. And it kind of shows you on here what absolutely has to be done with code and what doesn't. There's a good discussion in the comments as well that I think you guys could join into. Talking about modifying everything, troubleshooting, backing up, all of that. But it's just a really neat idea to think about what you can do with no code whatsoever. Because a lot of us are, probably watching this right now are kind of half and half maybe on you want to add code or you don't want to add any code. And I know that there are people out there who use Divi who never, ever, ever write a single line of code and do all of the customizations through the builder itself with the options in there. And that's fantastic to me. I think that's awesome because I am not capable of using it to that level because I'm so used to having CSS that when I want something, I'll go to the main element box and type that in because I'm not used to going in on and fixing the sliders and the features. So I think that's awesome and that you can do all of that. So that said, the next tutorial that I have is one that Jason put together this week. And he showed us this demo that he was working on earlier this week. And when I saw it, or maybe it was last week, I don't remember what day it was that he showed us this demo, but it's how to create a sleek header design with parallelograms in Divi. And it's like one of those titles that is like, what does that even mean? Like, I can't wrap my mind around just that without a picture. And then when he's linked to this demo site, it's beautiful. Y'all, like the way that he uses just Divi, I know I've bragged on him and Donietta a bunch on the things that they can do that just blow my mind, but this is one of the best just uses of Divi that I've seen as a builder just for customization and design that I've seen yet, just because of how he approaches everything with custom widths and padding and using only the builder. Sorry, I know I'm looking down. I apologize. Using only the builder and the gradients to completely make the columns and rows look like he wants them to. It is so cool, and just looking at the backgrounds and how he uses it, it blows my mind because I would have never thought to use completely clear gradients with the way the start and end position is. It's just great. It's just awesome, and I want you guys to look at it, and I think that you'll get some use out of that one because it's something that I'm going to get some use out of as I kind of emulate that. Well, I say kind of as I emulate that and follow his steps to get a template made for myself that I can use that on different stuff. And I see Uncle Social says that parallelograms in U.S. Southern Draw is an auditory treat, like everything else I say. George, really, parallelograms it's a normal word. Like we use it, we know it. That's something but it's something that I don't think about a whole lot in terms of just everyday conversation. When I'm thinking, it's something that's like, oh, I know exactly what that means, but it's like I would never say it like that. I would call that something like slanted layers or something. And is it Greek? That's awesome. Like I know so little. I know so little about the about Greek etymologies. So that's cool. I like that. Um, so now that I go through that, there's one that TorqueMag did. It's the fourth one down under tutorials, and this is a tutorial as well as kind of a concept tutorial, just telling you the things that you need to watch out for. It's how to drop legacy PHP support in WordPress plugins, and this is something that a lot of you. I was about to say want to do, that you may not want to do, but you really need to do. And TorqueMag really breaks down for us rather what it's gonna take, because even though WordPress can run on PHP 5.2, they're now recommending PHP 7 at least, and a lot of plugins want 7.2 at least on there, but 7 is the bare minimum that WordPress recommends, and even though you can still run on 5.2 or 5.5. Now, this breaks down on how you can cut that support, that when someone updates your plugin to a new version, that it will no longer function on that site unless the server is running the higher version of PHP. And the reason that this is an issue, and the reason I wanted to include this, is that if you're for two reasons actually, if you're in that developer section of WordPress who is maintaining support for legacy PHP versions, it's a good idea to stop. And the reason why is mainly because of the amount of hours that you're spending actually fixing issues and support tickets that the newer versions of PHP have already dealt with. That you can fix those, and those kind of issues won't be coming up for your users. Additionally, stuff's going to break. I mean, and as it's updating, it's going to run faster. It's going to run smoother. You can do more stuff. It's better coded. It's just going to be awesome. And so your clients and your users, everyone who's using your plugins, may not like that. So one of the main things that it goes into here, and something that I noticed this week when looking at the back end of a site, the one my wife was working on, is that you need to message to your users to just put in a banner that tells them when that legacy support is going to be stopped. That way, and give them information on how to talk to their host or do it themselves through cPanel on updating to the newer versions. It's very easy that you can do that, and to be able to do that, but the users, sorry, I saw a comment that I need to respond to, but the users won't know what's happened to their plugin if you don't message it to them, or they'll be really mad if all of a sudden their plugin doesn't work and you didn't tell them ahead of time because you've spent the time developing the PHP 7 version. So I ran into this. I think the EU image optimizer, EWWW, I always just call it EU, whether they want you to or not. But that is going out of PHP 5.5 soon. And when I saw that, and then this, it just made me think somebody who's watching this will need that. And so yeah, that's there. And thank you, Uncle Social. The vibe catcher wanted to see where Jason's demo was. Yeah, it's the third link under the description here under tutorials. As for the actual demo site where you can interact with it, that was on our internal sandbox, so I can't share that one with you. But we do have the blog like that. So yeah, I need to know how to connect Google AdSense to Alante Elementor. I don't know how to do it in Elementor, Abdullah, but there is a resource on here. Let let me see where it is. It's under the resources section. I can't remember where it is. There is a WP Mayor one. It is the third from the bottom. Is called. Oh, sorry, I bumped the table. Called the best ad management plugins for WordPress, and that would probably work very well for you to do it with Elementor or Divi or anything like that. Abdullah, that's the one that I would go with and check that out. I think the one that I use personally that works with Divi is Ad Inserter. And there are, like I said, there are a couple of others. There are more listed in there. As for specifically with Elementor, I don't know because I've not dived that deeply into that ecosystem to know. But I'm gonna assume that the any of those in the ad management plugins resource will be able to help you out. So I hope so. Excuse me. I was reading. I see the users are gonna want to update. Have to update. Sorry, Judy says that users are gonna have to update their PHP just to run WordPress eventually, and yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. I'm not sure when. One of the things that the article was saying that we don't know when the WordPress long-term support, the WordPress LTS, is gonna stop supporting 5.2 and 5.5. But I'm assuming it will be within the next couple of years, given how they're pushing to really advance the software at this point. My mouth gets so dry, y'all. You'll hear me say exactly that every week, but I know that. But it does. So, hi to Bolivia. Hi there. I see you guys. Hi Pablo. And the Studio HMO. Estudio. You're in Brazil, so I know that I'm mispronouncing that because I've had so many Brazilian students that I've learned that I can't pronounce absolutely nothing in Portuguese, and it actually sound right. So I cannot do that. So I'm sure I mispronounced that, but hello anyway. So I see a question on here that George has on YouTube. George asked, I do use SiteGround, asked that I use SiteGround. I had issues after the last update. Everything is good now. I ran in, I saw what the update had done in terms of the SSL issues that I'd been having. And once I went in there, basically I went into my dashboard, just logged into the dashboard, and activated and deactivated and reactivated all of the SSL certificates just immediately, like the switch. I literally clicked the switch button and to deactivate and activate. And on some of them, I ended up enabling a wildcard. Once that happened, once I did that, everything was fixed. I didn't do anything else other than that. And they may have actually fixed that on their end as well by now, where that doesn't happen. But that is exactly that's exactly what I did whenever I told you I was having that issue after the update. I just I did the number one thing that tech support people tell you to do. I turned it off and I turned it back on again. And so it actually worked this time for SSL certificates. So that's what worked for me. Are you having any kind of issues with it, with different things like that, with SSL or something else? Because like I've said before, I really like to know when something is going on with all of that. In terms of you're talking about the Divi builder. I haven't had any lately, no. I'm trying to think any at all that I've had with Divi builder, or with as a plugin or as the theme, and I don't think so. I can't recall any recently since then. No, I'm trying to run through my head. I can't think of any like that. If anybody else in the comments has, please let me know about that. Or let George know about that, because it's something that obviously matters a lot. But no, I can't remember if I've had any in a long time. So I hope it's not SiteGround on that one, because maybe it'll be easier to fix on your end if you're having issues with it. So sorry, sorry about that. So going back to the tutorials, I wanted to point out just a couple on here. I'm not going to really go in depth because there are some resources that I really want to get to before we run out of time. But the how to switch your website without affecting your SEO is super important as well. Just kind of some best practices, talking about things that you'll want to do, such as, you know, the way that you change the name servers and domains, and you know, making sure that broken links are fixed and how you're doing it. Torque, it's Torque Mag again. Torque goes through it and they're awesome. And then the how to fix the 504 gateway error in WordPress, when it times out. That's a very big issue. Everybody has it. It's not as annoying as the 503 and 505s that I end up getting a lot, but the 504s do happen. And that's something that WP Beginner has put out a really, really good article about fixing it, and how, you know, sometimes it can be your VPN, sometimes it can be a web firewall, and it's talking about, it breaks down going through your local DNS settings. So I see a comment on YouTube: is Divi working on integrating with the ACF plugin and allowing to opt out of those fields? You create an ACF like repeater fields. I wouldn't look for it anytime soon. Flipback. I've seen that question a couple of times before, and when I asked about it, similar things in the past, not this one in particular, I would not. I don't want to say I wouldn't count on it, but I don't think right now, because that's something that is, I don't want to call it a niche request, but it's one that there are ways to work with it already, and I'm not sure depending on how you do it. So I don't think that'll be anytime soon if it comes. But I doubt that one is on their list. But I know that because ACF does work, everyone uses ACF. It's advanced custom fields for those of you who haven't used that one. It'll let you add custom fields to your posts and pages. So moving into the resources, the last section we always do, I always say that the resources are like the things that I would just share on Twitter that I see that's like, hey, that's neat and I want that I just want you guys to really know about. And the first one is kind of a discussion piece that I saw. That's a piece? I'm not sure. A discussion piece that Get Flywheel put out, and they talk about the sidebar being an endangered species. I see that Uncle Social says it's pronounced niche. He has British rage on this one, but I'm American, Uncle Social. I got to say niche. It's got 2 syllables. It's got a diphthong. It's niche. So it's one of those words. I see Flipback was talking about Elementor does have partial support for ACF, and it's working on full support. It's one of those things where I know that our focus right now is getting our updates being, I don't even know how to put it. Our updates being toward specifically the community of designers using Divi. It's not something that I know that Elementor really does focus in on really integrating with plugins like ACF, and that's one of their things, and one of ours. Our main focus is on you guys in terms of design and users. And a lot of our target users, our primary users, aren't using a lot of the plugins like ACF. And when we do notice that it's a regular kind of comment coming in, that's really when those kind of integrations start being looked at or integrated specifically in Divi as a native feature. That's one of the ways that we look at it, is who is our very primary audience, and that's where like the priority lists I know come in. And then as the different tasks get handled and doled out and approached on GitHub through the issues, we look at stuff like that. That's one that I'll look through. I'll look through on GitHub and see about that. And write down to remember if it is next week so that I can come through, because I haven't looked through all of the issues in a long time. But that would be something to know about. So for me to know about as well. I don't use it that often, but you're right. It needs to be. It needs to be done, and it's very useful if it were to be done. So the resource that I put, the first one under resources, is the sidebar in endangered species. One of the things I see a lot is this. I mean, this is a huge thing in design right now on whether or not they're ugly and whether or not they serve any function. That between ad blockers, because if you've got a sidebar that is full of ads, ad blockers, will block almost all of them. And between design, they're kind of ugly, and people ignore them. People have become sidebar blind in a lot of ways, where they don't even think about what's in there. They read your content and then they leave, or they interact with the post content itself and not a sidebar. And it's interesting because I still like sidebars as a personal thing. I really like sidebars, but my blog doesn't have one. All the stuff that I do, I either put in the middle of the post or I put it at the very end as a big block section, and or I have a dedicated link to it in the header menu up top, where I don't actually use sidebars that much anymore, except for very specific kinds of posts or pages where I need all sorts of real estate. I may even use it when I make a Divi builder post. I may put a sidebar on individual pages, but as a site-wide thing, I don't use them anymore. And I'm really curious about you guys. That was one of the reasons. This is another one that I want to know about how you guys work. Is this something that you do? Do you use sidebars anymore? Is this something that there are best practices for a user experience than a sidebar? Kind of like sliders are hopefully going out of style, where there is a 97, I think, I can't remember what it was, 97% drop off in clicks and views after the first slide in a slider. So just use a header image, use a hero image, that kind of thing. It's easier, so that you can show your stuff. I wonder about sidebars. I wonder if sidebars are going that same way. So I see Uncle Social says Elementor has an opt-in to collect user data, including plugins installed. We should copy that same thing. One thing about doing that, and if you see it, it uses and if you're a plugin or theme developer who wants that kind of thing, who wants an opt-in for it, because I do love them. I think that's great that Elementor has that. Because I did a review and a walkthrough of Freemius is what it's called. It's a service called Freemius that you can do to sell your stuff through the backend and collect user data like that. And you can check it out, Freemius. It's a pretty neat service, and I've looked through it and gone back and forth a lot with it, like going back and forth to it over time. And it's really cool. I really like that service. So that may be something that some of you guys want to check out that you may not know about. I've mentioned it a couple of times on here, but kind of in passing. So those kind of opt-ins when you get a plugin like that, one of the major ones right now is Freemius. It's really cool. The biggest threat to sidebars is mobile first design. There's no room for a sidebar on a mobile view screen, and absolutely. The problem with that's why I put stuff at the end of my posts now whenever I have something I want people to see, is because of it being pushed down below the post content, that depending on the way that your site is responsive, the plugins or sidebar and all of that may get pushed down below comments even. So on mobile, they will not be seen. And when you're getting 60 to 70 or higher % on mobile devices, that sidebar's not doing you any good. So I usually get the highest clicks on ads on the after about the second paragraph, and then it just drops significantly after that. So that's also another place to add things that you want them to see. You can use stuff like add inserters to do that kind of thing as well. So more you know on that one, the more you different new ideas, new ways of approaching it. And I published this week, just very briefly, I just want y'all to know about it, and 11 podcasts for freelancers and the self-employed, so that y'all can go look and see if there's anything that you haven't listened to that you maybe should. There are a lot on there that I listen to, very, very much so, that have helped me a lot over the years and starting freelancing and that kind of thing, like The Science of Social Media, Honestly Happier by Gretchen Rubin, stuff like that. So check that out and see if there's anything new that you can listen to. And then I can't remember. I want to say it was Randy Brown who wrote it, but there's a blog on the website. Yeah, Randy wrote it about WordPress themes versus WordPress builders. And it's again a good look at why you would choose either one, like what users would want to use them, who is each designed for, what would make someone choose a Divi builder or Elementor over using 2017 or a specified or a specifically made podcast theme, which there are some out there. So why use either? Good look at it. I like that one. And I've mentioned before the WordCamps and things like that, but there was a conference called WP Campus that was this year. It was a while back, and WP Tavern now says that their 2018 videos are available to watch. The main reason I wanted to mention this one so that you guys can look at it is that I know there are some of you who work in academics, and this is an academics-based conference and academics-based talks. So using WordPress in a higher education setting generally is what they're about, where it's something that you guys want to look at. I mentioned last week how Vanderbilt University, I think I mentioned this last week. I thought about mentioning it if I didn't, where Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee is putting out lots of tutorials for their staff and faculty and students as well on how to use Gutenberg and how it's going to affect their campus websites. So it's a very, very prominent thing for higher education administrations and institutions is the word I was looking for, to use WordPress. So looking at WP Campus videos would be fantastic for you guys. I see M. Stevenson post a video training in support on how to customize blog pages from the layout template, how to make sure the flow from posts actually feed into the blog page. Oh, that's a good... oh, excuse me, my voice got to me. I got excited. That is one, M. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to copy that one and paste it in my notes here so that I will put that in the idea spreadsheet that we have to see what we have. We end up checking that to see what's in our archive that's similar, but that's one that we're always looking for archives or ideas and tutorials that our users want. I mean, that's what we're here for, y'all. So that I copied it, put it in my notes, and I will include it I'll put it in our ideas folder or spreadsheet rather to check and see if we have anything like that. So I can't do anything right now about it, but I will. I'll do what I can to see what we have and if we can get something like that coming around. Because you're right, it's a good idea. It's a really good idea. Thank you. So, really, thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I love ideas from you guys. Like, y'all have good ideas. So, some of the other resources I have in here, I've got about 9 minutes left. Just in the resources here, like I had mentioned earlier, the best ad management plugins for WordPress. So, if you're wanting to integrate them with Divi or Elementor or anything like that, I used to try to do it manually, and I mean, I know that was a long time ago, but I've recently found that I've updated and changed my ad plugin that I used recently because there are so many more better options than I had years ago. And you can customize them with a lot of logic now. They have a lot of different ways to use them, and you don't have to use them just for ads. It's something that you can use for displaying information, for using the logic on displaying both pop-ups, and say you want to make sure that users see through every single page that you're updating the site somehow, and you don't want to go in and have to edit your single.php to be able to include this somewhere specific. You may be able to do that with an ad plugin. And it's just easier to do stuff like that. These three on here that it lists are AdSanity, Advanced Ads, and WP Pro advertising system. I haven't used those personally, but just the idea, I love the idea of ad plugins being used in different ways. I'm curious, again, if any of you guys have used them in any specific ways that aren't simply displaying ads. So I'm curious because I've used them for like site-wide banners and things like that I wanted to get across to my users, my readers. Then the very last one, next to last one, I guess, is because I always have to talk about Yoast. Y'all know that. They did a blog on the current status of Facebook traffic, and I know we've talked a bunch here about whether Facebook is worth using for business, Google for local business, especially using Google Places and things like that. But I say things like that a lot. Sorry about that. I just noticed. So they talk about that their content has dropped, that they post blogs and content and a lot of stuff on Facebook, and that their traffic has dropped from Facebook because they're being treated like a publisher, as most of us are. And they're going into Instagram. The writer of this article, I don't remember their name. It's, I can't pronounce it, Marieka Vanderacht. I butchered that, I know. And she's using an Instagram story to tell how, let me see exactly what it says, in writing SEO tips. As she says, I'm now experimenting with writing SEO tips in Instagram stories format. She really enjoys new possibilities, but she's not a professional at that yet. Where if you're not getting a lot from Facebook, maybe Instagram is somewhere to look at. Because stories really do generate a lot. We have an Instagram that I wasn't aware of until fairly recently, and it generates a good amount of traffic. And it's something that blows my mind because I'm apparently a 90-year-old dinosaur who has never touched a computer, like actual dinosaur, like I'm Brontosaurus here, where I don't get Instagram stories. Like, it's one of the things like M. Stevenson on YouTube says that they get a lot more engagement with followers on Instagram, and I think I don't understand it. And that's what I really appreciate out of Yoast on this post, Yoast post, that they're not experts at it. She says she's not a professional, that Yoast isn't putting out the most highly polished, best kind of content on Instagram because they're still learning how to use that platform because social is evolving. And that is a very new platform for many of us, despite it being a very old social media platform as a platform. I see that that Vibecatcher owns a music studio in Seattle, and all of their best ads for local get the best return with new clients on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, we still get a lot at Elegant Themes on Facebook ads, and I know that, like for libraries, like I've mentioned before, my wife is in programming at our public library here, and she gets a lot of engagement, more than anything, using Facebook ads to do Facebook events for people. Sorry, I'm looking. Uncle Social does better on Instagram. It's the goldfish attention, as he puts it, interacting. with photos and video on Instagram, but not reading whole Facebook posts. The I see the Flipback has pre-made built-in template blocks that you can built-in template blocks that you can drag into pages. Why don't we have that? That is something that we are working on, Flip. That's something due to the way that the templates are done right now, and that they were made already. We have to go back and actually split them up. That's something that we want to do and that we're working on doing. It's just a long process of doing that. It's something that it's cutting them up. So because of the way that they're designed. So that's something that we absolutely want. We love. We want them. Because as users of Divi, that's something that we want as well. That's something that I want to be able to do. Everybody does. So that will eventually happen. Again, no idea when, but it's something that we're aware of and want to do and are working toward. I see. Yep, I see that. It was just a response. It was good. So the very, very last thing, like I said, the Facebook traffic, all of that was the next to last, but the very, very last thing, Code and WP. I love these kind of roundups. I love these kinds of 10-step kind of things, 23 whatevers. And this one is what are the best fonts for logos and what steps people go through to find the right one. It is awesome. I love looking at new fonts that I've never seen and remembering to go with them. They talk about word marks and emblems and just going through what you can get for free, what's premium. I love these. I love seeing these. There are some beautiful ones that I want to use, like Pintania. It looks awesome. It is beautiful, and it's in this list, so you're going to want to go look at it as well. But I love stuff like that. The fonts are fonts I love. I got into typography as a super low-level new guy who likes looking at stuff and understands very little, and so I love responses like this. I see these kinds of things all the time, and I end up just gravitating toward them. So I wanted to share it with you. Building mobile apps in WordPress. Vibecatcher asked about AppPresser. I've not checked it out much. I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about it, but I think it's awesome. I think the idea of it is awesome. And maybe a year ago, I mentioned something like AppPresser, not necessarily the exact product, but that's how that's what the REST API can do. That you can use the REST API in WordPress to use WP as a backend and for the databases and calls and everything that you need to make, and then use something like React or React Native even. You can write it in Java, whatever you need for specifically mobile environments, which I like React Native because it publishes both native apps on Android and iOS without having to be in Swift or Java, but that's neither here nor there. I love the idea of it, and I'm really glad that we can do stuff like that now. I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of it just yet, but I think that you guys are going to be on the cutting edge when you do that. And working in React Native, awesome. That's great. I love it. I'm not good at it, but I love it. So yeah, like I said, I think it's awesome with the REST API to be able to use WordPress for a backend. I know Smashing Magazine has done a bit of work on that specifically. I'd have to go back a year to look through the notes, but yeah, it's cool stuff. I like the idea. I haven't actually messed with AppPresser itself. Well, guys, it's 3 o'clock. That means I have to go or I will turn into a pumpkin. And I want to appreciate you for coming out here. I really do. I always appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day to sit with us, go through all of these really cool, really awesome articles that we find every week, and just, being awesome yourself. Remember to click on some of the links, read through some of them in the description of this video so that you give all of these content creators some love, because we didn't create that content. We go around and we curate what is there that other publishers have done. So please click through, show them how awesome they are, and thank them for putting this stuff out. And remember that every Friday we do this at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I apologize if you're in another part of the world. I got a comment on YouTube on last week's show about doing it at inopportune times. Part of the reason for that is just not having team members on this team able to do that at different times. We've talked about it, so we'll see what happens in the future as we're able to expand into other parts of the world and doing that. Because right now to do it at this time would be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning here where I am, let's say. So check out the other live streams that we do on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at 3 p.m. Sometimes we alternate days on that. And then on Monday mornings at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, we do a live stream on the new Divi features that Mac does. And it's great. He does it, and y'all love Mac. Everybody loves Mac. So check that out right here on Elegant Themes live streams on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask him. You can ask me. I'm everywhere. So y'all have a wonderful weekend. Again, thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for talking with me and spending an hour. I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.